Hey, I just saw Mission Impossible Final Reckoning and it was absolutely horrendous. I am at a loss. I'm not sure what to do with this franchise. What happened? So it turns out, I am going to hit some spoilers throughout this thing. So if you want to go see it, go see it. It really doesn't matter when it comes to the spoilers. This is not a movie that anybody will be watching a couple years from now. So this is Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. This is supposed to be part 2 of the Reckoning duo. And the first one, Dead Reckoning, was not good. It was not very good at all, but it definitely had its moments, and you could see some flashes of what makes Mission Impossible a great franchise. I mean, it's ridiculous. The first one is incredible. 4, 5, and 6 are incredible. 3 is good, and 2 has a lot of personality. But 7 and 8, oh my, I don't know what happened. Well, I kind of know what happened because I looked it up. There was a new writer for 7 and 8. Christopher McQuarrie, he did 5 and 6. I think he wrote and directed both of those. And they were excellent movies. So he came back to co-write and direct 7 and 8, but this time with a co-writer. And it's a guy I haven't heard of. I don't know anything else he's done, but he must have been the one to leave this absolutely abhorrent stamp on this franchise. And it started, I'm going to go in different categories. We'll do this more structured in a minute here, but I knew something was off in the beginning of Dead Reckoning. So at the beginning, they have 2 opening scenes. There's the first opening scene in the submarine, and it is annoying and terrible and boring. I hate that scene. I hated it when I first saw it. But as the movie went on, I gave it more credit. So that scene's terrible. And when I watched it again, I skipped that scene altogether. Then the next scene, the next opening scene, is Ethan infiltrating an NIH meeting or something like that. And it was this moment, it was at this point that I realized something was very, very wrong because of the way that it was written. So there were a whole lot of weird Dutch angles from what I remember, and that's something that's used a hell of a lot in this one, in the second part. But more importantly, it was the dialogue. The way the dialogue's written is absolutely ridiculous in this scene, the second opening scene for Dead Reckoning. What it is, it's like a group dialogue. Here's a bunch of exposition that needs to get out. And so we're just going to have random people say random sentences from this paragraph of exposition, and that's how we're going to do it. When I first saw it, I thought it was like a parody or there was going to be some kind of a twist related to it. But no, that's how the scene was written. And I was shocked. And then we go on with the rest of the movie, and I don't remember too many other times where that happened, where it was like a weird group dialogue scene. And then we get to this one, part 2, and virtually, it's like half the movie is that kind of dialogue. It was so bad. It was very, very difficult to sit through. So anybody who doesn't understand what I'm saying here is that you will have like 6 characters in a scene, and there will be a bunch of things that they have to talk about related to exposition that they have to get out. It's not done in any kind of dynamic or interesting way. And so you'll just have random characters saying dialogue that could be said by any of the characters. They just say one sentence, then it goes to the next character. They say a sentence, a different character, they say a sentence. And it's like they're not actually interacting with each other at all. There's no intent or character behind whatever they're saying. There's no emotional valence or what is this character thinking or trying to get done or have an interest in. Nothing like that. It's just them spouting expositional dialogue in random order for no reason. It's so stupid. And they do it over and over and over again in this 3-hour freaking movie in Final Reckoning. I could not believe how bad the writing was. It was shocking. So Jesus. That's the reason I bring it up in this way is that it was something that came up in Dead Reckoning way in the beginning, and it's something that just goes all the way through Final Reckoning, and it has to be this new writer. That must have been what did it. Anyway, that was supposed to be one of my one of my categories of criticism. That was going to be the second one, but anyway, just to go in some kind of order here and have some structure to this. So the first category here of reasons that I absolutely hate this movie is the unbelievable unbelievably over the top DEI. It was crazy. Now, when it comes to, just having diversity in your cast, obviously if they hire people who are talented and there's a mixture of men and women and people of different races, it's like, okay, whatever. In this, it is so ridiculously over the top. It was distracting for the entire movie. They made sure every single frame, they made sure that they were going to have like 50-50 women and they were going to have persons of color in every shot all the way through the whole thing. And they have a whole bunch of scenes where they have groups of people and they have a tremendous amount of superfluous characters. It's unbelievable. And this is it's not just the aesthetics. It's not just the people who happen to be in the background or happen to be characters or anything like that. It integrates itself into the major storytelling. In that, it's hilarious how often women are in charge and are given some kind of a one-up in the context of the scene. And I'm going to give you a whole bunch of examples. This is just from what I remember. I've seen this movie once. I just watched it, so this is just what I remember off the top of my head. So in the first instance, the people who have authority are almost exclusively women. And it's not just the major authority figures. So like the president is a woman, the admiral of this one ship that he has to get on is a woman. And those are the major authority characters in the movie. But it's also in small ways. So it's like when he's flying on a helicopter and he's talking to the two pilots. And both pilots happen to be women. And there's a guy in the background who's like freaking out while they're being the ones to say, oh, we need to do this and we need to do that. So they're the head of that. And then there's another scene where there's a girl and a guy, and they're talking to Ethan, and it's very clear that she's the authority figure in this situation. She has all the lines, she makes the determinations, and says, what needs to happen. Or all the important dialogue. They make sure to do that. Then also when the president is, she's like talking to her whole crew, and Nick Offerman for some reason is in this movie, but she's talking to the whole crew. It's a bunch of guys and there's one other female, and there's some tension within the group, and all the guys leave and the one female sticks behind. So it's demonstrating that she is kind of the alpha amongst, while she's talking to the president, that she's the alpha amongst this group. It's all these little things throughout the entire movie. This keeps happening over and over again. And it's not just in like straightforward dialogue scenes or anything like that. It's in fight scenes as well. So, for example, there's one fight scene where everybody is fighting. Everybody's fighting somebody, and they made absolutely sure that you have Ethan fighting somebody on a submarine, you have Benji fighting somebody, you have this extra superfluous guy who was another DEI, just addition to the team, who has no personality whatsoever, but you have this guy fighting somebody, and then you have the girl who's the one from the last movie. And she's fighting, but she's fighting two well-trained soldier type people by herself. All of the guys who are also fighting are fighting one each, and they're struggling with it, but she's fighting two and taking them out. And then not only that, but the superfluous guy gets into a situation where he needs assistance while he's fighting one guy and she's fighting two, and she helps him out. She saves him in that situation. Not only that, but then you have the untrained girl, which I don't remember. I know she's like the love interest of Captain Steve Rogers in the Marvel movies. I don't know the actress's name or anything, but her and this Inuit housewife have to fight a male soldier and take him out, very easily, by the way. But the point is, you don't do this kind of thing on accident. It's not like they just overlooked it and accidentally made it so all the women are always the ones who are getting the authority roles and doing the right things and being supportive of each other and not bad guys. The leaders of the bad teams, like the evil people, are men, but the leaders of the good ones are women. And not only that, but at the end of the movie, when somebody who's working for the entity, oh my god, I hate even saying that, but somebody who's working for it, it's a guy, of course, a white male is the one who's gonna try to take out the president so she can't do what she needs to do. Like I said, there are gonna be spoilers, it does not matter, but so the guy's trying to take out the president, and who intervenes and saves her? Of course, it's the tiny Asian girl that's right next to him. She's the one who jumps in and saves her, because the evil white man can be be, terrible and evil and do the bad things, but it's got to be the women who are the ones who intervene, or the persons of color. Because there's another ship, like the submarine, there's a leader of the submarine, and of course it's the black guy. Oh, and again, it's Ethan. Ethan's fighting on the submarine with this guy with a knife, and they're going at it, and there's a big fight, and they keep going, and it's, during this whole tense scene where everybody's fighting. And guess what? I called it immediately. Somebody saves him. Who is it? It's the woman who's on board. It's absolutely the woman who saves Ethan. It is unbelievable how blatant it is. Like I said, if it's mostly subtle, even if it's not as subtle as it ought to be, or, even just leaving aside the fact that you shouldn't be hiring people on the basis of their gender or skin color, but even when they do, and it's more subtle, you could just kind of accept it and go along with the writing and the story and everything else. But in this, it's so blatant, it's disgusting. It is the worst I've ever seen in a movie when it comes to how much they inject the DEI nonsense into it. So that was a complete headache. It was so annoying all the way through the entire movie. Now, if that was the only thing that was a problem, it would be really annoying, and it would really mess with the action scenes and the storytelling. It'd be really annoying how that does it, but I could still appreciate a good movie if it had good writing and still had those really goofy things about it. But there are many more problems with this movie. So like I said, the group dialogue, when everybody just says a sentence, takes turns saying a sentence of exposition, absolutely horrendous. It does nothing for character. It does nothing for plot. It's the most sterile way to try to communicate something I've ever seen in movies. It's so bad because none of the characters have an interest in any one sentence that they're saying. It's totally interchangeable. It was so stupid. So that's second category of annoying things. On the next one isn't as bad, but it's the settings. In all of the Mission Impossible movies, they have very memorable settings that you end up going to. In the first one, they've got the infiltration of Langley, even just being on the bridge and that initial party scene. And when he has to do all the stuff on the train later, all those are really fun settings. In Mission Impossible 2, he's got the climbing and even just going to the villa and the racetrack, and those things are more memorable. In 3, you've got this like favela type area, which it looks interesting, and there's a lot to it. And it's not a place you usually see. And you've got that gala event where you've got the Lamborghini parked outside. So there's more going on. They went to Rome in that one, I think, right? Yeah, they have to climb over the wall of the Vatican. So there's a lot going on there. In the fourth one, which one was that? Is that the one with the opera? Yeah, the whole scene at the opera looks amazing. It's fantastic. And then I think fifth one the Burj Khalifa. Oh, and one of them has the opening where he's in the prison. But there are just many. And the sixth one has that nightclub scene, whatever. And even just driving around, wherever they were driving around, was that in Paris? I can't remember. But wherever they were driving around, it looks awesome. Every single one of those has very memorable locations and settings. This one, it mostly had really dull and annoying settings, stuff that didn't really stand out. And we'll get to one of the scenes that I absolutely completely hate. But that one, it actually looked kind of nice, some of the time. But just throughout the movie, it's 3 hours of a movie, and most of the settings just suck. There are a lot of dingy basement type places and cellars, and you're just underground a lot and underwater for a whole hell of a lot of it. And the settings were not great to be in, weren't great to look at either for most of the movie. Okay, so that's the settings. And then characters. Oh my God. It wasn't just the main characters that were bad in this, that barely had anything to actually be doing, and you have to sit through all this ponderous dialogue that's so much exposition and restating the same things that we've heard 100 times. But it's also a ton of superfluous extra characters that you have no reason to care about at all. A case in point is like Nick Offerman's character. So he is somebody who's an advisor, or he's one of the generals for the president. And the setup is that the entity is taking over all the nuclear facilities. And so there's a bit of a conflict between him, Nick Offerman, and the president, because she doesn't want to fire the nukes and he wants her to. So it's going on and on. They're back and forth and whatever. And then at the end, he gets shot, and there's no reason to care whatsoever one way or the other what happens to this guy. But that's what happens. And so you're like, okay, great. Is this supposed to be emotional? There's another guy on the team that he has has a come around moment to support Ethan, and you're like, okay, and that's supposed to matter. There's that superfluous DEI guy on the team that is meaningless. He has no personality, and he's just an extra guy at the end, and he survives, and you're like, okay, what does it matter? There's the two people who, one of them is from the first movie. He was one of the guys, the guy who was in the room where Ethan did his infiltration at CIA headquarters in Langley, and so he shows back up. It's supposed to be a nod to the first movie, whatever, but yeah, so he shows back up, and he has a wife, and there's this tension, or supposed to be, about whether they're gonna make it out, because they are being self-sacrificial, and they survive, and who cares? More who cares character. I mean, you just have a notch higher for the one girl that was from the last one, and still it's mostly who cares. But and then there's that cop character who was in the last one, and he's supposed to be Jim Phelps's son, and so is he gonna have a revenge motive or something like that? And then it turns out no, it's all fine, and he comes around at the end to like Ethan, and who cares? There are tons of characters that it's completely meaningless, and it's a waste of time. You could cut an hour and a half out of this movie, and it would be the same movie. It would still be terrible, but at least it wouldn't take 3 hours. So there's just not hardly anything going on with the main characters when it comes to arcs or what they have to go through or what they have to figure out or anything like that. So it's just tedious, and then you have all these extra characters on top of that. Even the president, who cares? What does it matter? At the end, she goes and sees her son. I don't know who wrote this and thought this was going to be meaningful. It's absolutely insane to me. I can't believe that anybody thought, okay, this extremely superficial, generic situation where the president is going to decide whether to nuke people and then decide to not and go see her son, that's going to be super meaningful to us. No, you barely care. And then there's the captain or whatever, the admiral of that one ship, and she got a letter or this little note from the president that said something that was meaningful to her or related to people that they lost. And so you're supposed to care about her. You know nothing about her. You just met her. She has one conversation with Ethan, and that's it. You're supposed to give a crap about whether, she's feeling bad about this thing that happened way back in the day. It's a ton of that. It's so much filler nonsense that doesn't mean anything. Oh my God. And then on top of that, you have the next category, which is the flashbacks that happen throughout. They just play a bunch of footage from all the other movies. They keep showing up to be like, oh, look at these other things that happened in this franchise. Yeah, I saw the other movies. I'm aware of that. And if I wasn't aware of that, I'd go watch the other movies. That keeps happening, and it's intercut with things happening now, or it's usually just sitting around and people talking, which is a whole hell of a lot in the movie. And so they'll just have cuts to, oh, you remember this thing, and you remember that thing, and you remember this other thing from this other movie. And it was just, I did not like it at all. I mean, it's a relatively minor criticism relative to everything else that I've talked about here, which were absolutely apocalyptic. But still, it's a criticism. It got annoying that they kept flashing back to every other movie just over and over and over again. Then another one that's minor compared to the other ones, but was still really, really annoying, was how often they used the Dutch angle. It was constant. It was nonstop. I know in Mission Impossible 1, I think it was used a few times, especially in that scene where they were in the restaurant that's an aquarium, and they were showing what's his name, who's great in that movie, the villain IMF guy. He's doing his job really, but when they'd show him, they'd have the Dutch angle to make it more menacing, and they'd show Ethan also to show that it was getting more tense. They'd have him at a Dutch angle, but they kept doing that throughout this movie, and it just didn't seem like it was done intentionally to make some particular kind of storytelling point at any given time. It was mostly just annoying that they used it so much. And in addition to that, there were these hard cuts. Okay, I know there were 2 at least where they were just jarring. And the one I remember is toward the end, Ethan crashes his car, and he's running through this underground quarry area. He's stumbling at first, but then he's running. And then it just hard cuts to him running full speed outside. And it's just something really weird about it to that. And it was like a Serengeti. It's like, how did he get out of the underground quarry area? He's chasing a guy in a Jeep, and Ethan's Jeep crashes. So now he's got to run, and he's just up on the Serengeti and full sprint after he had been running for an extended period of time because he crashed his car and had to get out from underground. It's not like they would be right next to each other, it would be that easy to get out from way underground to on top of the ground Serengeti area. I don't know. It's one of those things. It was jarring. It was weird. Okay, and the next category is the submarine scene. My God. And just as a subcategory to this one is how often Ethan's just being ferried around, or has to ask somebody for something, and that's the plot of that moment. And it got so annoying and tedious, especially for a very long stretch here in this part of the movie. First, he goes to the president. Oh, I need to convince you now to let me go do this thing. And then she's like, okay, fine. Yeah, I'll let you go do the thing. And then he goes to the admiral or the captain of the ship that's overground, which is a carrier, and there's this big to-do about him getting a carrier, and then so he gets it, and then he has to convince her. He's like, okay, I can't tell you what I need to do, but I need to do a thing, so here's this letter from the president, and now you'll let me do the thing. And she's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So it's really meaningless that he had commandeered a aircraft carrier or whatever. It meant nothing. It could have just been a boat. So anyway, he does that, and then he ends up on the helicopter, and they're flying, and he has to get out of there into the water, so he get to the submarine, and so the helicopter's just carrying him to another place, and then the submarine picks him up, and he's like, okay, now I gotta convince you to let me do a thing, and I can't tell you what it is, but let me do the thing. Oh my God, it was so tedious and boring. There was just nothing to it. Every one of them were like, no, I'm not gonna trust you. Okay, yeah, I am. And that was the whole story. This was 45 minutes of storytelling. It's just that. Just them being like, I'm not going to trust you. Oh, wait, yeah, I am. And that was it. That was the whole point. So just leaving, like I said, that was just a subcategory of annoyance with this part. And then you leave that aside, you get to the sub scene. So he's in a submarine. He's supposed to be getting a MacGuffin. By the way, it's just MacGuffin after MacGuffin after MacGuffin. It was so annoying. But he's just trying to get a MacGuffin in this sunken submarine so he could take out this computer, whatever, AI thing. And he goes down there. It takes forever. It's at least a 30-minute scene of him by himself just crawling around in this sunken submarine. And they try to increase, tension by doing everything imaginable. Oh, now the submarine is filling with water. Oh, now the submarine is falling down even further because it had fallen, it was underwater and stuff, but now it's going to fall even further down in this extra ravine. And it's God, I don't care. And now he can't fit into this tube thing that he needs to get into, so he has to take his suit off. Oh my God, isn't this crazy? And now his suit thing gets caught on the thing, and it's 30 minutes at least. I left in the middle of it because I was getting a call, and I was, thank you for sparing me. Okay, when I get back, they'll be doing something else. And I went and I tried to take the call, and they had hung up, so I had to call them back, and they didn't answer the first time. I had to call them again, and then we had a conversation. And I finally go back in, and it's still going on. The stupid scene was still going, and I just could not believe it. They do everything they can to try to ratchet up tension, but one of the most annoying things about it was all of the promo was showing him doing the stunt on the biplanes. That was in all the promo. I didn't watch any trailers whatsoever of this movie. I avoided them like the plague, but I still saw the promo, the poster or whatever that showed him on the biplane. Oh, that hasn't happened yet, so obviously he can't die now, but they're spending 30 minutes just trying to convince us that he's in danger right now. This is so stupid. It would have been something else if he had been there with somebody, or there were some other stakes related to it apart from just find the MacGuffin or don't. Then it would have been different, but it wasn't. It's just we know he survives. He has to survive because every poster has him on the biplanes. So there's zero tension in that, and you still have an hour left in the movie, so you can guess pretty easily that he's going to make it out of this one. And it's just going and going and going and going. Some of it looked nice, but it was just going. From a set design perspective, it was cool, but it was just going and going. And there was nothing else to the scene. And then finally he gets out. Oh my God, no, but you're going to have to surface too fast, so you're going to get the bends. And that's really bad. And then they're going to have to resuscitate you because it's so cold. So great. Yeah, he gets the bends, and it doesn't mean anything. He might as well just have been cold. And then he gets resuscitated by what's her name, and he's fine. And then does the rest of the movie. That's it. That's all there was to that. No lingering effects or anything like that. It's over and done with. So I absolutely hated that scene. It could have been 100% cut out. It would have made no difference. It was completely useless. From a writing perspective, it was completely useless. So beyond that, next category is the villain. Absolutely horrendous villain. Oh my God. I kept thinking from beginning to end of this movie that they were going to do some big twist related to what the villain is or how it works or how clever they were going to have to be able to defeat the villain, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. It was just, oh no, we just need to upload the MacGuffin thing attached to the other MacGuffin. And we get it. That's it. We're done. And that was it. That was the whole villain. And the whole thing for 6 hours worth of movie. For 2 of these movies, they've just been saying, oh, no, but the entity understands everything that you do and knows what you're going to want to do. And even if you think you're going to do the thing that you don't want to do, maybe it's manipulating you to do the thing that you think you want to do. And it's doing that for the entire 6 hours of these 2 movies. And it doesn't come to anything. Nothing at all. It was the worst villain in all of these movies. I mean, it could be a decent villain and still get beat out by most of the movies. In the first one, quality villain. Second one, he was fun. He was a lot of fun. It wasn't a great movie, but he was a lot of fun. Third one, incredible villain. Fourth one, great villain. Fifth one, great villain. Sixth one, great villain. There was a little bit where Ethan did that talk when it came to Lane, where he'd be like, oh no, but he wants me to do it. So it's going to happen because he wants it to happen and all that stuff. And it got, that got a little tedious, but they kept it pretty much under wraps. But in this, that's the only thing that this villain is just like, no, but it knows everything, so it knows everything we're gonna do except when we don't do things that it wants us to do. Okay. And then the end of it is just, oh yeah, we uploaded a virus. It's Independence Day, and that's it. That's all you got. That's the whole thing. That defeats this incredible, the most villainous of all the villains is just that, yeah, they do a MacGuffin thing and it's over with. That was it. Hated it. Absolutely hated it. Terrible, terrible villain. Terrible that they try to make it menacing with that little stupid sound effect every time they tried to show it. Oh, look at these visuals and our sound effect. Aren't you scared of the machine villain? No, not at all. Not in either of the movies. It was really, really stupid. Okay, having said all that. I actually did like the stunt at the end. I thought it was pretty good because they did a lot with it. They did a lot with the planes, the biplanes, and everything that he had to do. And still, it went on too long, just like the helicopter thing at the end of 6. Even though I love 6, 6 is one of my favorites. It's a really, really good movie. I don't actually watch the end of it anymore. I'll just watch right up until they're supposed to do the helicopter stuff, and then I move on with my life. But yeah, this one is, I like this stunt. I thought it was pretty cool and it looked nice, and it was nice, red and yellow plane. And yeah, Gabriel's an absolutely horrendous villain too. He was terrible. So that was good. Some of the visuals of him being stuck in the sub were pretty cool, and I can appreciate that. But otherwise, this movie was so bad. I hated it. It was definitely the worst. Yes, worse than 2. It was the worst Mission Impossible movie ever made, and I blame it on the new writer. It must have been his fault because it was never this bad when it was just Christopher McQuarrie for the other movies. There's no way. He had some dumb stuff in there, but to get to this point of bad, it's just shocking. It's a good thing Rebecca Ferguson just got out when she could because she probably saw the writing on the wall with the writing of Dead Reckoning. Oh, no, this is not going in a positive direction. I know how to read, so I'm going to move on with my life and not be a part of this franchise anymore. And good on her for that. So, what did you guys think? What did you guys think of Mission Impossible Final Reckoning? Apparently the last Mission Impossible Tom Cruise movie. I don't know if they're going to reboot it and have a new actor or what they're going to do, but this was not the way to go out. It's just like Bond. This was a horrible, horrible way to end it. It's got way more good movies than bad. Yeah, because 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all excellent movies. I mean, 3's not excellent, but it's good. It's on the positive side of the ledger. So that's 5 good, at least, Mission Impossible movies versus 2, 7, and 8. So 3 not good ones. So it's got a way better track record than Star Wars. So that's good. It's even got a better cumulative record than Lord of the Rings. So that's good. It's quality and better than, well, how's Bond do? I don't know with all the other Bonds, but the Daniel Craig Bonds, how many good ones are there? We've got Skyfall's excellent, Casino Royale is excellent. What are the other ones? Quantum of Solace was terrible, but they didn't have any writers at all. But that's still better written than than this Final Reckoning nonsense. What were the other ones? Oh, Spectre. Spectre was not good. It was better than Quantum of Solace, but it was not good. And then the last one that I pretend doesn't exist, I only watched it once. I will never watch it again. But so that one's a pretty mixed bag when it comes to Daniel Craig Bonds. Anyway, my God, what a waste. One thing that wasn't wasted, though, is I tried dumping Milk Duds into my popcorn for the first time ever, and that was great. That was excellent. We got a good review for that. That's at least an A- cinema score. It was just, it got a little messy, when you're trying to eat it. Yeah, so that's a positive result. This movie gets an F cinema score from me. I'd probably give it like a 3 out of 10 if I were going to rate it on that scale. It was not a good movie. Anyway, yeah, like I said, what did you guys think of it? Let me know. I hope all is well. See ya on the next one. All right, bye.